Coming up on today's show, the BMW i3 Sport sacrifices range for performance, the Fisker Emotion is set to debut solid-state battery tech at CES next week, and what happens when a Tesla Model X goes all ice road truckers in the unusual deep freeze gripping the US East Coast right now. Welcome to a brand new year and a brand new studio for Transport Evolved 2. Sure, it may look the same. This is a virtual set after all, but behind the scenes, there are a few tweaks on the way. So I hope you'll bear with us as we get the studio soundproofed and set up in the way we want it. Last year, BMW announced it was going to bring a sportier Model i3 to market called the BMW i3S, and now it's here. Lower in ride height and with a slightly wider track, the BMW i3S also introduces a new sport mode, giving a slightly faster sprint time and a sportier feel than the standard i3. As you might expect, given it has the same battery capacity as the standard i3, the i3S trades a little range of performance, and this week the EPA told us just how much the i3S is eating: 7 miles, 11 kilometers, less than the standard 33 kilowatt-hour model. Given most people don't drive to empty, I'm going to suggest the difference is negligible for day-to-day life. So if you want a sportier feeling i3, you may want to get down to your local dealer and give the i3S a spin. Nissan's all-new 2018 Leaf may have just launched around the world, and yes, the review is on the way, I promise. But we're already starting to hear about plans Nissan has for the 2019 Leaf. You see, slides from a recent Nissan presentation suggest that Nissan is working on at least a 225-mile, 360-kilometer range for next year's Leaf, as well as a 100-plus kilowatt DC quick charging and 60 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It's not a secret per se. I've heard similar stories from Nissan insiders, but it's nice to hear I'm not the only one hearing these particular rumors. Following its standard practice, Tesla unveiled its previous quarter delivery and production estimates this week, setting a new personal best on quarterly deliveries with increased Model S and Model X sales, helping it shift just under 30,000 cars in Q4. That would be a great figure on its own, but while Model X and Model S both experienced a massive year-on-year increase in demand, just 1,550 of those nearly 30,000 cars delivered last quarter were Model 3s, a figure that puts Tesla far behind on its own guidelines for Model 3 and is forcing it to push back its 5,000 Model 3 per week benchmark for a second time from the first quarter this year to the end of the second. But while Model 3 news isn't so great, the Model S is now officially the US's most popular electric car, sneaking past the Nissan Leaf for the first time in terms of total volume. For as long as I can remember, naysayers of electric cars have tried to argue that mass transition from petrol to electric would bring the electrical grid to its knees, causing brownouts, grid chaos, and the kind of mass hysteria which is usually reserved for cats and dogs living together. But a new study this week of California grid data by the Natural Resources Defense Council shows that even in an electric car-friendly state like California, there's plenty of extra overhead for hundreds of thousands of cars to charge. Add in time of use incentives where EV owners make use of off-peak electricity to charge their cars for less, and it's very, very unlikely the EV revolution will bring the grid down. So relax, it's all good. I'll link to the study notes in the show notes below. With the start of the year comes the final plug-in car sales figures for the US, and my, what great figures they are, bringing the Chevrolet Bolt EV to just under 23,300 sales for the year, the Chevrolet Volt to just under 20,350 sales, and the Toyota Prius Prime to just under 21,000 sales. The Nissan Leaf fared less well, selling 11,230 examples. But with the new Nissan Leaf now officially on sale, expect higher figures this year. Other cars did less well last year, but all in all, 2017 saw more than 160,000 plug-in cars sold, and that's not too shabby at all. If you saw the last few shows of last year, you'll know that we've been on something of a death watch for Faraday Future after it severely cut back its factory plans and its goals during 2017. Well, despite the slew of staff leaving and the massive financial woes, Jia YT, CEO of Faraday Future, now disgraced and debt blacklisted in his home country of China, has said he intends to stay in the US rather than go home and face his creditors because he's closing on the latest round of funding for Faraday Future, a round which could allegedly help save the company. Sadly, given all I've seen from the company is smoke and mirrors, I can't possibly believe this particular rumour until I have more concrete facts to check it against. Last year, we saw the Hyundai Ioniq hybrid and its all-electric sibling begin sales around the world. And while the Ioniq EV was limited in sales due to what appears to be limited battery pack availability, this year marks the official launch of the Hyundai Ioniq plug-in hybrid, completing the trio of Ioniq launches and giving would-be customers a choice of different drivetrains to choose from. With that launch comes the official EPA rating for the Ioniq plug-in hybrid, a rating that gives it an all-electric range of 29 miles, that's 46 kilometers per charge, as well as a fuel economy of 52 miles per US gallon, that's 4.5 litres per 100 kilometers, when the 8.9 kilowatt-hour battery pack is empty. That may seem small to some, but for others, it's just enough to get them plugging in, so I'm very excited to get one of these on loan sometime soon. Volvo might be a little behind when it comes to the rollout of electric vehicles, despite having worked on electric car prototypes more than a decade ago. But it now says it's gearing up for a big plug-in vehicle push in the next few years and will not only offer multiple electric models from 2020 onwards, but offer them with multiple battery options. Sure, it's a little less than some of us had hoped back when Volvo was talking up its plans to lead the electric vehicle market by this time, but multiple battery options should help Volvo serve as many of its customers as possible without shutting some of its customers out due to high battery costs. Only time will tell if the strategy will work for Volvo, but it's certainly worked in the past for Nissan, BMW, and of course, Tesla. Next week, well, in a few days actually, I'll be taking a team to CES in Las Vegas, where we'll be covering a whole slew of new exciting tech from the automotive and energy world, as well as new concept cars from Kia, Hyundai, Toyota, and other mainstream automakers. We'll be seeing a mind-reading concept from Nissan, which it says will make self-driving a little more pleasurable for occupants, since the car will be able to sense what you want it to do, as well as some new interesting vehicles from brand new companies like Byton, Lightyear, and many more. But perhaps the car I'm most excited to see is the Fisker Emotion, a vehicle which will debut and, says its creators, showcase a brand new solid-state battery that will give 400 miles of range per charge and take just 9 minutes to add more than 125 miles of range, not to mention full LiDAR capabilities and a starting price of $125,000 US. Watch this space because we'll be providing content from the show every single day starting this Sunday. Over the past few years, you've probably watched as electric cars have gained an ever-increasing share of the market in Norway, first claiming a few percent of the market, then a quarter, and then a third. Well, now, thanks to high sales volume from automakers like Tesla and Nissan, electric cars occupy a massive market share in Norway, with more than half of every new cars registered on the roads in Norway today having an electric drivetrain. Well done, Norway, and here's to other nations following suit. And if you think it's just Norway leading the way, think again, because this week, China announced its plan to expand its electric vehicle incentive program to get more of its citizens plugging in rather than pumping gas. In addition, it's officially banned the sale of 553 models of various petrol cars, which it says are too energy inefficient. Interestingly, too, some cars banned include models from Audi, Beijing-Benz, that's Mercedes' Chinese partnership, and Chevrolet. The ban comes at a time where China's capital, Beijing, is experiencing its best air quality in 9 years, thanks in part to its new tough stance on fossil fuels, and also coincides with the announcement that Chinese megacity Shenzhen has transitioned its entire public bus fleet to electric, with more than 16,000 electric buses now on the city's roads. Watch out, world, China's coming for the green title, and if it carries on this way, it'll probably get it too. And finally, we all know that Tesla Model X has proven itself time and time again in cold weather, thanks in part to the ongoing vlog of Bjorn Nyland, or Tesla Bjorn as he's more commonly known these days. But this week, thanks in part to the extreme cold weather affecting parts of the US, we got to see a Tesla Model X do something that we've never ever seen it do before: help tow a spun-out 18-wheeler after the big rig got stuck in a snowstorm in North Carolina. The video here explains it all, although the driver and owner acknowledges that you really shouldn't try this at home. And I'm going to add that doing so is certainly using your car beyond the scope of what it was designed for. So you're on your own if you even think about replicating this. Okay. And on that note, this is your lot for the day. Thanks for watching and putting up with the less than par audio quality while we get the new studio set up. And don't forget that next week there won't be a usual show, as I'll be off in Las Vegas with the lovely Kate Walton-Elliott and Brandon Yates covering the best that CES has to offer. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Consider supporting the show through Patreon, or if you're so inclined, send us your bitcoins at the address in the description below. I'm off to pack for CES, so until next time, keep evolving.